At 6:23 on a wind-lashed morning in November 1944, Petty Officer Elias Ward, a machinery technician aboard the U.S. destroyer USS Renshaw, crouched on the exposed aft deck with a metal instrument so crude and so absurd-looking that any engineer worth his salt would have sworn it belonged to scrapyard. Not in the middle of a Navy drill, but there Ward stood, boots slipping on spray-slick steel, waves crashing hard enough for one, holding up the ice and cobbled together the simplest variety, a jury-rigged boiler pressure feedback gauge, made from a broken manifold ring, a torpedo ballast valve spring, a warp barometer needle, and 2 inches of repurposed copper tubing scavenged from the wreck of the Florida. Behind it, the sea erupted in flame. The Japanese passenger cruisers were escorts, and collided head-on with the American screen just beyond the shadow of the plumes of black smoke rose like mountains between fleets. Shell splashes towered over destroyers, weaving in flames. Airburst cracked overhead, showering bullets and shredded. Ocean Ward's beloved Renshaw was shuddering through evasive maneuvers, its boilers straining past safe limits. Every few minutes, the engine telegraph clanged for more speed, and every time, the surviving pressure gauges gave contradictory readings thanks to saltwater intrusion and the nearness that had torn open the rapids. Ward had warned the bridge they were flirting with the boiler up. The captain had replied with what he was to wreck, and finally they determined exactly how far he would push the ship. So Ward made way, and now in the choking smoke of flashing lights, he held up his improvised gauge while Chief Mac stared at him like he just put the back on him. Tell you what, pointing at the twisted metal protractor, can read superheat imbalance on a system that's leaking steam into half the deck? Ward wiped soot from his face. No, Chief. I'm telling you, it can tell us how long we've got before the port boiler tears itself in half. The ship lurched as another salvo Ward passed, shaking the deck. Somewhere forward, a sailor screamed orders. Somewhere aft, a secondary explosion rumbled deep within the water. Ward steadied the needle with one thumb, twitched, then steadied again, at a reading that was not what he wanted to see. Chief, Ward shouted, throat tight. We need to warn the bridge. They're about to demand flight speed. Macklin grabbed his shoulder. There's no time to go topside. Ward stared at the gauge, at the way the needle fluttered under vibrations, at the way the copper tube hissed faintly from internal pressure. He realized something with a sick twist in his gut. The next demand from the bridge wouldn't just overstress the bridge. It would kill Renshaw and everyone aboard. He set his jaws and braced himself as another shell screamed overhead, because he had only a minute, 2 of Providence's kind, to convince the bridge that this bizarre little tool in his silk-covered hands was the only thing keeping the destroyer from carrying itself. Ward showed the improvised gauge under his arm as the Renshaw rolled hard to port, seawater exploding across the deck in a blinding curve. The destroyer's hull groaned, an awful metallic complaint that vibrated through his boots and into his teeth. He didn't need a functioning indicator to know the boilers were seconds from certain consequences. Chief Macklin steadied himself against the deck. Face sweet, oil, and steam rays. Ward, that really better be wrong. Because it's right, they're already living on large. Ward's back down. It's not wrong. That's night's terror. Smoke drifted low across the deck, big enough to sting the eyes, and turning lower, he shifted the rate. Above him, the after-gun lights slanted. Their weak forces, rust holes, overhead. Somewhere to starboard, another American destroyer, maybe the Ammon, maybe the Mustang, laid down a barrage that briefly lit the smoke orange. Ward jammed his device against the steam line he'd tapped earlier. The copper tube vibrated violently as it drank in the pressure signal. The barometer needle jumped, wavered, then settled at a lean well outside the safe arc. Macklin saw it, swore. Superheat is spiking again. Port boilers starving the starboard feed. Ward nodded grimly. The near miss that breached the aft casing had rattled the whole steam grid out of line. Normally, they could isolate one boiler, rebalance the feed water, and work the problem into the comments. But this wasn't done. This was 2 fleets killing each other at pistol shot The engine telegraph inside the passageway clanked twice. All ahead fire. Macklin shouted back and pulled him apart the ladder. Belay that order. Engineering, put that on. A voice crackled on the intercom. Finn, ground staff. Engine release the bridge. We need flank now. We're blind in this one. Ward scrambled for the handset, grabbing it before Macklin did. He shouted into it. Bridge, this is Ward. Your gauge is topside over. You push us to flank. Static swallowed his bullets. A shell splashed close enough to pitch the entire ship sideways, slamming Ward into the bulkhead. The handset flew from his grip. The line went down. Macklin pulled him up. We don't have a bridge. We're on our own. But Ward wasn't listening. He was staring at the improvised gate. The needle wasn't just twitching out. It was possible, swinging back and forth on entire legs. That meant instability and superhuman power, not catastrophic. The trembling toward one. No. We need to revise the key. Override the automatic brake. Macklin's eyes went wide. Yeah. It's great. Karen's tried to really put himself. Ward grabbed a pair of asbestos gloves from the rack, and we unjam it. Another explosion hammered the Renshaw, this time closer. Rivets danced across the deck like metal hail. A geyser of seawater blasted over the fantail. Half the lights flickered. Macklin shouted over the chaos. You'd be working 6 inches from a superheater casing hotter than the devil's lungs. Ward grinned through the grime. Good thing I brought a miracle device. Macklin choked on a laugh. Oh, for Ward. That thing is one bad solder joint away from killing you. Ward slung the improvised gauge over his shoulder-light strap and kicked open the hatch into the lower engineering area. Steam roared through the cramped space. Pipes hissed so loudly it sounded like a ship was screaming. Crouched beside the manual feed water regulator. A wheel barely visible through the shaking hands. It was stuck hard, fused by heat and warp metal. No sailor in his right mind would touch it without shutting half the ship down. Ward wasn't in his right mind. He jammed the gauge's copper prong into a diagnostic port he patched together. The device whined, needle dancing line. Macklin ducked as a burst of steam shot past. Ward watched the oscillation, the rhythm, the pulse of pressure cycle. It wasn't random. It was predictable. On my mark, gripping the regulator wheel with both hands. Mark your way. Macklin yelled back. When the cycle dips, pull. The cycle doesn't dip. It's climbing. It's oscillating once per pattern. The needle swung. Left, right, left. Slight pause. Right. Ward brakes. Now, with everything and burning even through the asbestos gloves. Macklin threw his weight into the wheel. Better ship. Then wait. Steam pressure, shaking. The deck vibrated under the wheels. Ward looked down. The needle stayed down. Not safe. Not comfortable. But still, Macklin sat. We brought ourselves to minutes. Ward shook his head. No. Seconds. Because the deck above them thundered with a new, unfamiliar sound. A Japanese cruiser shifting fire. Its guns now locked directly onto the Renshaw's silhouette through thinning smoke. Ward felt the hairs rise on his arms. Chief, he whispered, we need that telegraph. The bridge is about to demand flank again. And this time, unless he changed the outcome himself, the ship and every man on it would meet a shell broadside, with boilers seconds from tearing themselves open. Ward lunged to the engine room. Boots clanging on metal rungs still slick with condensation. Chief Macklin followed close behind. Shouting noise over the roar of the boilers and the thunder of main gunfire outside. Every few steps, the Renshaw shook from near misses. Each concussion threatening to snap steam lines, crack joints, or undo the delicate pressure balance they just wrestled back. As Ward climbed, a violent tremor pitched him sideways, slamming his shoulder against the ladder cage. The shell had detonated close, very close, judging by the metallic scream running through the deck. Move. Macklin barked from below. Bridge needs to hear it from you. Nobody else knows what that means. Ward burst Capture teams rushing aft. Gunners reloading ammunition in the frantic glow of emergency lights. Above, chaos. The engine telegraphed climbing again. All ahead flight, hammered by the death sentence. Ward shoved his way to the floor of battle. A closer grabbed his arm. Orders from the bridge. Flank speed. Ward to a foot. They go flank. Report word will go to the next 30 seconds. That's not my call, sir. Ward didn't slow. He couldn't. The ship was seconds from pushing itself out beyond structural limits. Climbed toward the bridge. Each struck higher and louder. Every vibration felt sharper. Like the ship had begun to resonate with incoming fire. At the top ladder, smoke thickened. Someone shouted. Hit 2 port. Topside battery down. Wind blasted through the opening. Hot metallic. Carrying the acrid tang of burning paint, Ward stepped onto the exposed starboard side of the command deck, ducking instinctively as tracer rounds slashed the air overhead. The scene was chaos. A Japanese cruiser, its bow angling through a rent in the smoke, had lined up the Renshaw in its sights. Its secondary batteries hammered away methodically, each salvo walking closer along the side. Ward dashed toward the shattered windows. Inside, officers leaned over charts and voice tubes, shouting over the thunder of guns and the shriek of metal underspray. The captain stood at the center, drenched in sweat and seawater, gripping the railing with white hands. We need flank speed to clear their firearm. Who the hell is engineering? Ward skidded inside, nearly colliding with the helmsman. The captain shouted, "You can't go fight. Your boiler pressure is lying to you." The captain wheeled up. "What in God's name are you talking about, Mr. Ward?" Ward slammed the improvised gauge on the truck. "This is one of the shortage. The port is seconds from runway start. If you call for fight, it'll rupture." The XO stared at the mangled device. "You expect us to trust that contraption?" Ward jabbed a finger toward the ceiling. "If you don't, that cruiser won't need to sink us. Our own machinery will finish the job." The deck jolted as a shell slammed into the water off. Showering the bridge was wet. The captain grabbed the device, stared at the trembling wheel, then back. "How accurate is this?" Ward swallowed hard. "It's up, sir. It's in the line. But it's reading the only green line. The bridge gauges are contaminated with sea-deck." He raised his voice and the captain pushed forward and ordered from the place. For a long minute, then he slammed the telegraph lever back. All ahead, 1/3. A collective gasp rippled through the bridge. The XO protested. "Sir, we'll lose turning speed. We'll drift into their sight line." "Better live and slow than fast and exploded," the captain snapped. But he wasn't done. He turned to Ward, eyes fierce. "Can you give me window?" Ward blinked. "Sir, a margin, a moment of safe power." Ward looked at the device, its needle trembling at the end. "I need to see their firing rhythm and our pressure cycle." "Do it." Ward pressed the gauge against the closest contact metal beam, letting vibrations travel into the device. The needle shook, oscillated, found a rhythm. A brutal one, a tight one, but a rhythm nonetheless. He stepped toward the captain, voice steady despite the chaos. "Sir, you've got 8 seconds of safe thrust per second. Hold it up for a dodge turn. If your helmsman's quick." The captain spun toward the helm. "On my command, we dodge between seconds." Ward added, "If you mistime it by more than a second." The helmsman wiped sweat from his brow. "Great." The captain gripped her up. "Call it Ward." Ward pressed the device to the railing. Wait. Shells screaming overhead. Now, the captain slammed the telegraph. All ahead full, just for a heartbeat. The Renshaw leaped forward, engines howling, deck vibrating. But the boiler held. The shells mincing. Splashes erupted the storm. The captain cut power instantly back to 1/3. Ward exhaled, chest open. Macklin burst off the bridge. "Ward, tell me you didn't trust." Ward held up the gauge. "Working. For now." The new shadow grew deep swung. The second crew bowed cruiser emerged from the smoke like a steel mountain. Its bow knifing through the waves. Forward turrets traversing methodically toward the Renshaw. Its gun barrels lifted, dipped, corrected. They weren't firing yet. They were calculating. Ward felt the deck shift beneath him as the destroyer heeled into evasive maneuvers. The captain barked new orders. The XO relayed bearings, and the helmsman adjusted course with desperate precision. But Ward wasn't looking at the cruiser. He was staring at the gauge, the needle which had shown a clean oscillation limit before, now jittered erratic. Small tremors at first, then wider swings, then violent spasms. Macklin saw it and went. Ward pressure cycles collapsed. Ward nodded grimly. Superheaters losing uniformity. That last surge warped the grid. The captain snapped. Plain English. Ward forced his voice down, so your safe window of thrust. It shrank from 8 seconds to maybe 3. The bridge fell silent. Even the roar of the ocean seemed to pull back. For a heart. 3 seconds. The captain repeated quietly. That's nothing. Ward gripped the gauge. We can still work with it. But the timing has to be right. XO floated in a second. So were the weapons. Ward the cruiser had completed its 3 forward turrets locked on the The Japanese officer aboard that ship raised binoculars. The captain hissed. They're about to fire a full broadside. Ward ignored the fear, rising in his chest, and pressed the gauge against the forward bulkhead. He closed his eyes, listening not with his ears, but with his hands to the hum of them. The cycle was there, but faint, fast, unstable. He waited for it. The tiny fragile drop in pressure that would give him 3 seconds to the safe acceleration. The second cruiser flashes lit across his deck. White-orange bursts gleaming like violent Ward Ward's pushed back. The captain didn't hesitate. All ahead flank now. The Renshaw surged forward with a scream of tortured machinery. Steam roared through the pipes. Deck plates vibrated underfoot. Men grabbed whatever they could to keep from falling. Shells whistled overhead. One slammed into the sea, just off the port bow. Another ripped past the stern. A third exploded close enough to rain shrapnel across the bridge. The ship shook, but it held together, barely. The captain slammed the telegraph back down to 1/3. Face action. Ward updated. Ward checked the gauge. The needle was worse, much worse. Macklin saw it and cursed under his breath. We got maybe one more of those like this. Ward didn't disagree. The cycle was now jagged, ragged, like a heart losing it. The safe dip had gone from 8 seconds to 3, and now it looked more like 1.5. The captain spun toward the helm. Enemy cruisers are bracketing us. We need speed now, or we die. Sir, Ward said, raising his voice over another explosion. At this rate, we're not surviving another flank surge. The boiler casing is warped. The pipes are screaming. One more round push. Right now, rising in Macklin's face drained a color. That's the starboard superheater twisting under stress. Ward shouted, Captain, we need to rebalance again now. The captain glared at him, jaw clenched. If you leave this bridge, I lose my shotgun. And I need to hear upon the next day. Ward hesitated, his pulse jammed. Smoke drifted across the deck and hit mid-cover. And the captain spoke again. Quiet. Ward, you don't survive the next round, no matter how balanced this bridge is. The forward lookout suddenly screamed. Cruising under the new sound coming. 2 cruisers, 2 fire brigades, 2 massive guns of the Navy gunfire boarding the Canada. Ward felt the deck vibrate as though enemy ships locked into synchronized firing patterns. The sky brightened with muzzle flashes. The sea lit up like lightning was striking from below. Macklin grabbed Ward's sleeve. Elias, you can't time 2 volleys. Not with that cycle. Ward knew he was right. He couldn't track both simultaneously. The gauge wasn't built for that. But there was something he could do. He pressed the gauge to the forward beam, closer to the ship's natural vibration, and closed his eyes again. He listened. 2 enemy firing rings. 1 unstable boiler cycle. What do you mean? There's an overlap. Captain, Ward said, opening his eyes. I can't time their volleys in good. I can time the moment when both their firing rhythms. The captain blinked. Well, Ward nodded. When the two cruisers fire close enough together, their shock waves will hit the water simultaneously. That'll distort the sea for just a moment. And in that moment, if you surge, their shots will land exactly where you were. The captain stared, slowly nodded, calling. Ward braced the edge, watched the needle, listened to the thunder, felt the rhythm of two steel beasts breathing fire across the waves. The first cruiser fired, then the sea, almost together, not quite. The captain gripped the tongue. Another pair of flashes closer. Ward watched the timing tighten. Half a second. A quarter. Wait. The deck trembled as water plumes erupted mid-stern. The next volley built and fogged. Flashes broke. Almost. Ward felt the vibrations of iron and steel. The two firing rhythms sank for just a blink. A heartbeat. Now, flying down. The captain slammed the tongue. The Renshaw Ward flew. A single dangerous surge that shot every man on board sides. Shells screamed overhead. Explosions ripped the water from the heart. The spray hammered the head. Nothing but they had escaped the gas. Good God, Ward checked the gauge and felt his stomach turn. The needle was collapsing. The oscillation was dying. The safe cycle was gone. He whispered, "Captain, that was it. The boilers have no more windows left." The XO looked toward the cruisers. "They'll reload in seconds." Ward's voice dropped to a cold, grim tone. "Then the next volley will hit us with no way to dodge." The gauge needle sagged to one side. No pulse, no rhythm, no oscillation. The copper tubing of Ward's invention glowed faintly from internal heat. One end sizzling where a drop of seawater hit and flashed in the steam. It was no longer a tube. It was a dying heartbeat. And the Renshaw was out of time. The XO shouted from starboard windows. Both cruisers are training back on US. Turrets rotating, range closing. Below them, sailors scrambled to rearm the destroyer's guns. Ammunition carts sliding across the deck as the ship pitched through swell and storm. The air was thick with cordite and cotton. Shrapnel rang off steel plated like hair. Ward forced himself to meet the captain's gaze. "Sir, the boilers can't give you anything higher than 130. If you demand more, we will." The captain didn't know. "If you stay at 130, he said softly, I am." Ward felt the truth settle and the weight on his chest. XO shot. Enemy salvo in under 20 seconds. Wind howled through the shattered bridge windows. Smoke rose from the funnel in a crooked column. A firefighting crew dragged a wounded gunner across the wall. The chaos of battle pressed into the chaos like a living beast trying to break. Ward looked down at his device one more time. The gauge needle didn't move. The copper tubing didn't twitch. Dead. Wind. Faint tick vibrated against his fingers. So Fanny almost missed it. Pressed the device against the button. Another tick. Irregular. Like the singer. Macklin saw his expression. Ward, what is it? Ward murmured. Almost to himself, the ship struck, oscillated on her own. After the stress of the surges, the hull, the steam lines, everything's resonating. The captain snapped, "Speak plainly." Ward looked up, and for the first time since the fight began, he smiled. "Sir, we don't need another pressure window. The ship is giving us one." The XO blinked. "What does that even mean?" Ward grabbed the device with both hands and pressed it against the forward beam. The needle flickered, only barely, but enough for him to sense the pattern. The Renshaw's battered steam system had fallen into a natural harmonic cycle, like a cracked bell ringing itself out. A cycle of structural flexibility, not boiler pressure. A cycle. If they hit it at the perfect instant, would let the ship survive one last tiny burst of speed. Captain, Ward said, voice steady. "You have one final chance to dodge. Not because the boilers can't, but because the ship herself is bending at the right place. If you push when she flexes, she'll break." The captain stared. Then, slow, resolute, calm. Ward leaned close to him, eyes closed, feeling the hull vibrate, counting the spacing between tiny structural rungs. The cruisers fired. The sky lit with orange. The sea vibrated from waffles. Ward one down, fingers trembling, feeling the resonance roll through steel like breath. Not yet. Shells screamed toward them. Incoming death. Spray exploding in sickening geysers. Almost. The resonance built. The deep shudder. A flex. Now. The captain slammed the telegraph. All ahead fight. For one impossibly fragile heartbeat. The Renshaw. The boilers scream. The plates flexed. The seams groaned in curtains. Her engines roared like breathing pumps. Shells detonated all around. One quick reactor. One sheer one shattered against the surface of a roaring like one strike. The destroyer slid behind a curtain of smoke and sea spray. Out of the cruiser's firing arc. Alive, barely. Ward collapsed against the railing, lungs burning, ears ringing. Macklin grabbed him in a bear hug. "You insane, brilliant bastard. We're still here." Ward laughed, despite himself. "I trusted the ship. She did the rest." But when he looked down at his device, the gauge needle lay flat. The copper coil was cracked. The casing was warped. The coffee grinder for ships, dead at last. The captain steadied himself, voice hoarse. Bring us behind formation. Damage control to all decks." We turned to Ward. "He brought us our lives to his side. And he did it with scrap, metal, and stubbornness." Ward shook his head. "Sir, I just listened." "For what?" Ward looked around the battered bridge. The flickering lights, the smoking vents, the trembling deck beneath their feet. "To the ship," he said softly. "She told me when she could take me." And as the Renshaw limped into the protective shadow of the American mountain, smoke rolling behind her like a wounded man, Ward finally allowed himself to sit, exhausted and shaken, but alive. The duel of boilers and cruisers was over, for now. As the USS Renshaw drifted into relative safety behind the American fleet, the ship seemed to exit, steaming and soft plates settling with gentle ticks instead of torquing runs. Damage control crews swarmed the decks, dragging hoses, sealing ruptures, and carrying wounded men to makeshift triage points. The chaos of battle gave way to the grim quiet of survival. Ward sat on a crate just below the bridge lane. Gloves burned, the uniform soaked in seawater and sweat. The remains of his improvised gauge, the bent barometer, the cracked complicated, the warp casing, lay scattered beside him. It looked less like a device now, more like a breed of respect. Chief Macklin lowered himself onto the crate next to him. "That thing saved the ship," he said. Nudging him like a pound. "The ugliest miracle I've ever seen." Ward shook his head. A miracle would have been a working pressure gauge. This was just listening, and praying the ship didn't call my bluff. Macklin smirked. "Don't sell yourself short. You heard what none of us could." But Ward only stared at the ruined device. He hadn't just heard the boilers. He'd felt the resonance of a battered destroyer, its metal fatigue, its vibration patterns, its last remaining flexibility. The ship had spoken in the only language a dying machine had left, and Ward had been desperate enough to understand. Later, when the damage reports came in, the numbers stunned even. Warped boiler casings, half-melted superheating tubes, nearly ruptured fuel lines, hull plates flexed 5 times beyond tolerance. One more push, one more second, and the Renshaw would have split herself open mid-run. The captain submitted Ward for a Navy commendation. Petty Officer Ward demonstrated exceptional ingenuity under extreme pressure, using improvised instrumentation and structural resonance analysis to preserve the operational integrity of this vessel during a critical moment of engagement. Ward never liked that phrasing. He said later, "I didn't preserve anything. I just kept her alive for long enough to have us come on." After the war, Ward remained machinist, first with the Navy shipyards, then later repairing the fishing vessels along the Pacific coast. He earned a reputation for diagnosing engine problems by sound alone. Fishermen would swear he could hear a cracked piston ring from 100 yards away. or sense a misaligned shaft just by placing a hand on it. He kept the remnants of his improvised gauge in a small wooden box in his workshop. A reminder of the morning when two native cruisers tried to tear his ship apart and Renshaw herself practically whispered the solution into his hands. Today, the story survives only in scattered abstract names and the memories of the man who wrote it. Sailors still wrote about wartime gauge, a scrapper tool that somehow outsmarted real instruments under the fire. Remember it differently, not as a triumph of equipment, but as a moment where a ship and a sailor met each other halfway. If this story pulled you in, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps keep these long-form war stories alive. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and whether anyone in your family served in the Navy or worked in engineering at sea. And if you enjoy cinematic, deeply researched war narratives, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss the next one.